Hello friends, it's Jiftesh from Encode Digital. In this series, I'm going to create a Vue 3 components library along with you. So I will be creating a lot of components, form components, folder structure components, draggable components, and a lot of things which you guys can reuse in your project. The reason I want to do from scratch with you is so that you can see exactly how each component is built, because if you want to tailor it, that you can tailor it from your needs. So let's start. I'm going to use the Tailwind CSS, and in today's one I'm going to create the input component which we can then reuse to create a form, something like this, and gonna send the data back. For example, it will, like anything you have, it will give you back as a form. If something is not right, it will do the validation, and then in the next lecture we will look into how we're gonna create a forms component itself. But let's start with the input field component for the Vue 3, and this is all for CDN. I'm using the CDN version of Vue 3 with composition API. Okay, I have already created this component for you, so I'm gonna reuse a lot of things, means copy pasting. So I want to spend more time on explaining the things rather than just typing. So let's start. So first of all, we'll create index.html. That will be all we will be using to showcase our work, and then I'm going to create a JS folder where we'll keep our source code. I'm going to create a folder called components. Now we will be creating all our Vue components in this folder. For example, today we're going to create the input field, tomorrow we're gonna create the select and then tree structure. All the components will come here. Then we're going to bundle them all up in bundle.js, and that's the bundle.js we will use in our index. Okay, so now let me grab the code like I mentioned, but I will try to grab in parts so that you guys I can able to explain what those things mean and what those are. Okay, so very first thing for our index.html, let me grab the header section first and I will explain. So this is normal, of course, a normal HTML part. Here we are importing the vuejs and components as an import map, because later on I want to import various export from Vue as well as from the components. I want to import our components, so that we give the import path. We are using the Tailwind CSS, means the CDN version for this development. You can check this video, which I will put the link. If you want to use the local version of the Tailwind CSS, we will use as well, but later in the series when I will package everything up, which we can publish to do the CDN. Then this is just a style. I will right now comment it. If you already know about the vclock, if you used Vue, good, you will know this what I'm doing, but if not, I'm commenting it now and I will show you later on. Okay, so in here let me create the body, and then let me close the HTML. Okay, now let me grab the code. So I have created an app. As you know, we will use the Vue. We have to give which div it is targeting, so anything within that one is taken care by Vue. This is the h1. Let me close that div, and this is just a normal h1 showing that heading, and as you can see I'm using the classes for the Tailwind CSS. I have to run this in a server. I can't in a file because I'm using the bundle.js as the components in the module, otherwise it will give me the course error. So for that one I can use PHP local servers. I can run the server on localhost 50001, and let me grab this, and yeah, it is there. So nothing fancy, just normal HTML it is showing. Okay, now let's quickly look into the bundle.js. In the bundle.js, the way it will be that any components will be in our components folder, and then we can import those ones here. For example, we haven't created this one, but what we're saying is that if we created a component called ed component, and then we can import that and then exporting, because we link the bundle with our index.html. So whatever we specify, we can import that particular component. Okay, so now let's create our component. So let me create ed underscore input.js. This is from where we are importing this one. We're saying, okay, in this one we have to create the our component. So let me, like I mentioned, so this is our input component. Now I have already created this component. I'm going to copy this code. Don't worry if you don't understand anything what is written, because I'm going to explain each and everything. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is our view component. So what I'm doing is I'm importing ref for our any variable, and I am importing watch so that we can look into any change in the value of the input field. Okay, leave this one for a second. I will come back. Let's look into the template. Okay, so as you know, with our vuejs we provide the template, and this is the template we're going to reuse. This is our input template. So in input template, what I have right now is, this is just a div wrapper. What I'm doing is that, okay, I mentioned about the class. This is making it relative and margin top. This is CSS classes, and then I am binding the class to something called content wrapper class. So I haven't covered this one yet, but think like this. I'm going to pass the class, because you might have different needs for each input field. For example, earlier we were looking when I show you, so here as you can see, these ones are in one row, both of them, so they are half width. These ones are full width. So certain things you might, although they are all input fields, but you might have a separate CSS for those ones which you want to pass. So that's why I did I'm passing some CSS which we have a look, and then that will be appended to that div. Then what is this? This is a label, which is basically this one, the label for that particular input field, and then this is the input field. So this is the label, and this is the input field, and this is a span which shows the error message. So this error message, which you can see, it highlights red and error message, so that is this span. Okay, now let me cover these one in more detail. So label, okay, I will cover in a second, because this is now how we send the data. So anything which you see is binded, I'm gonna cover when I provide that data in the index.html to this particular component. But this is simple. This is just a classes for that one, and this is what I'm saying is this is we displaying the name of that label, which we will send in a second. This is span I added, like if we are saying it is required, then I want to show this asterisk sign for the required fields. Okay, hold this one on for a second. Let me cover, because now we are going into what data we are sending. Okay, let me go to the index.html, and I want to explain how we're gonna send the data. Okay, what I want to do is basically I want to, in our index.html, I want our ed input which we have created. Actually, I want to give it like this. I have the ed input, and I want to send the data to it. Okay, how various things, like what it is, name, or what is ID, and all those sort of things, how I'm going to send the attributes to this particular input field, and that is the reason I'm going to send the data to it. Now this is where I said in here that I am sending as a prop called input data. So as you know from the view, so anything which you pass to your child component, then you can access that one, so via props. So I'm sending the props input data, and then I will be emitting back the value as well. So this is update input data. I'm sending that one, which we will look later on. So let's see into the input data. So I want to send the data here. Let me save this one, and then here I want to basically send like input data, and then I want to send some value within it. And this way we can do, like I can create input data, because we're going to do multiple. So this will be like first name, last name, like that one. I want to reuse it, so I'm going to create this as an object, and I'm going to send the data for first name. Okay, and then I will create another one, and then I can send as a last name, like that. Okay, so we'll have a look what data we're going to send in a second, but that's how we're going to send the data. Okay, now let me grab the code. Okay, so what I'm doing, it is not closed, so let me close this one off first. I will explain in a second. I assume you will be able to understand most of this, but okay, so I can say app.mount. Okay, so what I have done is I imported create app and ref from view. I imported the ed input from the components because I use the components word because I have mentioned here, and this part is to bundle, so it can import the ed input. Then I'm creating an app, view app, and then in that one I'm specifying the component. Okay, I'm going to use ed input because that's how we are able to use here. And then I'm creating a setup which I'm going to add more code, and then I'm mounting that app which is here, id app. Okay, so now, but we are not passing this input data yet. Okay, so let's create that. Let me do one with you and then I will add, because I want to make sure you understand, so okay, I'm going to input underscore data. Okay, I'm going to get ref because we want to keep track of that one, and here, okay, and let me return as well. Okay, input data. Okay, now this is fine. We are sending, but we don't have the first name. So I want to set up this data now. First name, I want to send to our component. I should be able to specify. I want to make it generic so that I can reuse it. So I have set up the fields. I should be able to send the label, which gonna go into top. Okay, what is the label? So here I'm saying first name. Okay, then I want to set the type of this one. As you know, there are different types. You can use number, you can use email, you can use tel, telephone, text, password, various types. So for this one I'm saying text, and I am specifying name, like, and I'm going to use the same name for id as well. And then the value, initially it is empty, and then I'm going to make it as required as true for that asterisk sign. And this is where then I'm going to send the wrapper class. So I'm just going to cover these ones, so bear with me in second. So this is where I'm going to send the tailwind classes. I'm saying to width half, and then on the padding on the right 2, and make it inline block. So this is in case you want to have 2 input fields side by side, like the first name and last name. Okay, now let's have a look. What are these? So in our ed input, so I created these ones. You can see I have binded all these things together. These are all the possible attributes for input field. Now we don't need all of them, but because we are creating component, you might need for those ones. Let's go quickly. So we bind model. So content dot value. Now what is content? So content I have created here as a constant, and with the reference I'm saying I am passing the props dot input data. So in the props we are sending this input dot data. So anything in the input dot data I am putting in the content. Basically the content will have this, because I'm sending input dot first name, which is this block, into the input data. So it will have that as a block. Now within that one it is saying content.value, so it is binding the value with that. So anything in the value, it is binding that one. Then type, anything type which we send, and which is here as text. If we have a number, then it will bind to that one. It will be number, name, id, both are to the name. Placeholder, if I want to provide any placeholder, like for example job logs or like something like that. And maximum length, min length, we can disable. So all these ones are optional. Means if I keep on sending, they will be like, we will have a look. Okay, once we make it run, we will have a look. So this is the first name. Yeah, this is how it will be. So let me see if I run it, what we get. Okay, see, we get the first name. Because we said 1/2, so it is 1/2 of full. I want this is too big for me, so let me add some CSS classes in this, and which is setting the maximum width, and then basically it is centering it. So if I say, see, now it is in the center. Of course the last name is not displaying because we haven't provided the last name, so let's do that. So we can provide last name. Okay, last name again, everything same, first name and last name. Then email, then we will have password and confirm password. Okay, so basically all these within an object, basically they're creating a more input fields as you specifying. And for these two I provided the wrapper class with half, because in our input you see this wrapper class, this gives to this outer div, is making it half, but not for the other ones. For other ones we are not sending any wrapper class, so that's how it is. So let me, you will be able to see first name and last name. You're not able to see the other ones because we haven't added those yet, so let's add those ones as well. So if I do, so we have email, password, confirm password. Okay, if I refresh you will see all of them. Okay, I can just add this as a result. Now what I want is that this is just a pre, so that we can see that code, and we want to have this all the data in the result coming. So I have to create a new constant and say after this const result, and then for once I have the result I have to take the data, because in here we are exporting the data and say emitting. So what we're doing is we're watching the current value of content value, because this is a reference, you have to access it by value, then dot value is this value field which is empty, but when you're typing it is keeping the values in that one. It is comparing the new value and old value. If it is not equal, then it is deleting the error. I will come on to this one because we haven't discussed the error. Once we do the error, basically the main thing right now is emitting the new value back. Because it is emitting the new value, we haven't captured the values yet. It should be with that emit at, and here this emit and equal to, then we have to specify, we take the value and then I want to give the name of that, because I want to have the key and value. So I'm giving the key the name of each input field, like first name in this case, and then value for that one. So I can do it that way. And if I now run it, so you will see this. Let me see if we're not able to display anything yet. Okay, so now it is there, but the reason it is because we are not exporting result. That means returning back. It is defined, it is getting the value, but it is not able to display here because we haven't returned it yet. So let me now, okay, now you can see anything we type, it is coming as a key value, because then you can use this to send it to the server, whatever the processing. Let's say this is a registration form, you can send it after adding the validations. Okay, now let's look into the validations, because, and also submit button, we haven't got the submit button yet, so let me add submit button as well. And by the way, see if I refresh it, can you see for a flash that black is there? I don't want that, I don't like it. So that is where the V clock comes in, because what I want to do is I don't want it to, I only want to load once it is fully loaded. So what I can do is I can put everything in the div, in one div, and then I will mark this as V clock, and this is where I have to add this CSS, that for V clock display none. It is the views feature. It will not display until it's fully loaded. So let's try now. Earlier it was flicking. See, now that black is not flicking. It only fully loads once it is loaded. That's the reason the V clock was there. Okay, now let's add the validation submit button first. I'm going to add that button. I just given some CSS and I'm giving submit form and submit. So let me add this as a here and create a function. Okay, in this one we're going to do some validations. Here what I'm saying is the form, I'm setting the form valid true, that okay, it is valid right now, but then I'm checking, because if any time it is not, then I'm gonna make it form valid wrong. We are getting all our data in the key value pair in result. So what we are checking is, I will show you, as you can see, key value pair. So what we are checking is whether there is a key called first name or not, because it might be that you don't even fill and you click submit button, and that is the very first thing is checking. And if it is there, then whether it has any value or it is empty, maybe you just added a spaces. So that's what is checking. If it is not that case, because you can see it is or, then we are setting the error on the first name as true, and we are giving error message first name is required. Now this is where you can see in here I said I'm adding a class if the content dot error is true, because which we are setting there now. Then we are saying the border is red, otherwise border is neutral. And also if the content error is there, then we are adding that span, and then whatever the error message we're setting, that will be displayed. So that's what this code is doing. I think now you understand this in a full. And what we're doing is when we start typing again, we want to delete it. We don't want it to keep on showing the error again while person is typing, or they're recorrecting the error, and then we are emitting that particular value. So that's the old code over here. So let's go back. So that's what we are doing over here, and we are marking the form valid as false because it was an error. Same thing we check for the last name. Of course, let's say if it passed the first name, it might have failed in last name, but the code is same. For email, we are sending the regular expression. We're checking whether it passes the regular expression for the email or not. If not, again we're setting the error. Then we're checking the password. It shouldn't be left blank. The password is required if it is a blank, not set. If it is set but doesn't match with a confirmed password, then we are checking, and then we're sending password is not match. If it passes everything, then basically the form valid was not set to false, because that's the reason we set true in this first instance. It means it has passed all the validation. Then we are console logging the results, its value. Okay, so let's have a look. So I'm gonna save that. Let me refresh it. Now we have submit button. So if I don't enter anything, I submit it. As you can see, all of the required fields are now flagged as red. So as I start typing, this will see that error gone, and as this. But let's say I added these, still this email is not valid. It's gonna say enter email, valid email. If I say this, that email is valid, but now password, this one is matching, so everything is there. So let me go to the console and let me submit it. So as you can see, all the data is submitted, and this you can use as an API to send it to the server. So I think that covers everything, guys. So the only thing is I don't like this manual way of all this validation. So in our next session, I'm going to create a form. So rather than typing this one, I all want to do is I want to send this object, and it should create a form. It should do the validation, and even in the validation I should be able to send like this. I want to do validation, and if you've used Codeigniter, Laravel, or any framework, you know, you normally send it like this: required, or valid email, or minimum length, you know, anything like those, you know, minimum length 5, something like those things. So you can send these validations, and then that form will have all the code. So when you are sending this object, all you need to do is just send which validation you need, and you can add any of your custom validation as well. So I don't need to write this all code in the submit form here, but in this particular session is, let's say you can use this because okay, you might be using the form, but maybe in another instance you just need a couple of input fields. Then I wanted to show you how you can do, if you just want to do custom, you know, a couple of the input fields, how you can get the data, how you can set and everything. So this way you're able to reuse anywhere. So I think that covers everything for this session, guys. Any question, drop me in the comment. If you want me to any particular component, you know, because I was looking into, there are a lot of libraries as well, the Vue component library, but the component which we need, mostly they make it paid. So if there is any particular component you want me to do, put me in the comments, you know, I will have a look, but I'm going to do a lot of components here. So speak you into the next one, guys. Cheers, bye.